Your closing attorney said they wouldn't take your case. Why is that? Well, I'm Tiffany Weber. I'm a real estate attorney. I've done thousands of closings. And today we're going to dive into a discussion of what does a real estate attorney do? And are there different types of real estate attorneys?
So most people don't realize that real estate lawyers have a lot of different practice areas that happen within real estate law. Like there's a lot of different types of lawyers in general, but then also in real estate, it's broken down into a lot of different segments. What are some of those segments that are in real estate law?
Well, the first one would be, kind of how I started my career in litigation. Litigation, you can litigate all kinds of subject matter, but most of the cases that I worked on were real estate focused. So litigation, real estate litigation being one, or
What goes into like real estate litigation then?
disputes over land, rights to land, zoning,
I always
etc.
thought you had like the most simplistic explanation of what litigation does, and I thought it was really good because it was easy to understand. Like, it's not always this, but
I help rich people fight about money.
rich people fight about money. And
That was the type of litigation I did.
yeah, but like they're not necessarily always rich, but like people fighting about things is essentially what litigation
Yeah,
is.
it's not always it just so happened that the ones that I was working with, my cases were helping rich people fight about money. But
Yeah. So you've got real estate litigation. Those are the people fighting over things. What other types of real estate law is there, or segments of real estate law, I guess?
well, the one that I do right now, which is mostly closings, but that's certainly not all that we do. In North Carolina, real estate attorneys, closings are considered the practice of law, or certain aspects of a closing. So we're an attorney state is what it's called versus a title company state. So we help close transactions. So people buying and selling homes, people buying and selling commercial properties, title searches.
People buying land.
Yeah, buying land, preparing contracts, easements, deeds, all kinds of stuff related to the more transactional side of real estate. Not arguments, but what does it take to get a real estate transaction done?
Now, there's a couple others that we get phone calls about quite a bit, and it's another one that we don't handle, but what are those?
Landlord tenant, number one.
Yeah, we get those a lot.
Yeah.
And I see them come through the website, so it's like, oh, why can't we help these people?
Well, because it's in the nature of litigation. And while, any lawyer can do, whatever kind of cases they want, but we do have a duty of competence. So that's not what my practice area is focused on. And I'm not the one that you want.
But Tiff, you were a litigation attorney, and I like you. I want to work with you.
I used to be a litigation attorney. If you asked me to do it right now, I would need quite a bit of time to get back up to speed on all of the rules that are involved. The subject matter, that's not the issue. It's what do we know about real estate law? Of course, but there's so much more that goes into arguing with someone in court. You have to know the rules of civil procedure. You have to know the rules of evidence. It's a lot more than just knowing, are you likely to be correct or not? It's not just the rule of law that you need to know. You need to know how to play the game as well.
Yeah. Every time.
Also, we don't have time to do, unfortunately. And I also explain to people that if you are involved in a case in which there's a judge, the judge is in charge all the time. So if the judge says you need to be at the courthouse at 11 a.m. on Thursday, that it does not matter that I already have a closing scheduled at 11 a.m. on Thursday. I have to be at the courthouse. Well, guess what? There might be a rate lock expiring. The contract might, it might put somebody in breach of contract if I have to be at the courthouse at 11 and can't do your closing at 11. So they don't really go too well together.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just generally believe that lawyers can do all. And when you're coming out of law school, technically you can choose whichever one you want to do and can technically do all. You might not be good at all, but you can choose wherever you want to go. And then once you guys get into the practice of law, generally you put your focus into one subject matter so you can become quote unquote expert.
Don't say experts.
You can't say expert.
Can't say experts.
But you focus all of your efforts so that you have the expertise in just one.
Building skills, having built significant skills in an area.
Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of people get confused. They'll, I see all the emails that come in from the website, and it's, I've got this issue and it's a real estate law issue. Why can't you help? And this is it, because especially with the litigation stuff, you're truly at the mercy of the judge. And when you're in a transactional practice, you can't just stop everything when the judge says it's time.
Except you have to. So I have to leave the transactional clients hanging because of, one litigation matter, and that it just doesn't jive well for us.
Yeah. Ultimately, it makes you not perform the duties in which that you want to perform.
Right.
You wouldn't be able to provide the service to the transactional clients that they deserve,
right,
which is why you focus just on that. So differences between transactional and litigation, or that more combative, I guess, type of practice. Like, what are the differences in those types of law, I guess?
Well, generally speaking, on the transactional side of things, there is a mostly common goal, and that one party wants to sell and one party wants to buy one identified piece of property, or multiple. It's the same thing that they're trying to get accomplished. They have their own motives and reasons for that, and they have their own things that they need to get out of the transaction, but the end result is the same.
Buyers want the house, sellers want the money.
Is that there is a transfer of property. Litigation, the outcomes are different. They want separate outcomes. And they're battling for that outcome, to get the thing that they want. Whereas in transactional, there are things that each side that matter to each side, but ultimately we're going to the same destination.
Yeah. And I think it's important to understand who does what and why. That way you don't get disappointed if you call like your trusted real estate attorney or the person that did your closing and they're like, oh, I have a easement issue. Can you help? A lot of times you may be able. Yeah.
If you need one drafted, yes. If you're negotiating an easement with another party and you've decided this is what we're going to do and we need it prepared, yeah, that's kind of right in our wheelhouse. But if you think someone's blocking your easement and you need them to take down a fence, well, you're probably going to court over that. And that's, not us.
So when you say it's not us, what does that mean for the client? They call you and they want the solution. Like, what happens? You don't have the solution.
Well, first of all, we don't mind if people call because we're the attorney that did their closing or the attorney that they're familiar with. In fact, I'd rather be the first call, just because there might be times that we can help, and I love that we're considered and thought of. But we also know a lot of attorneys, and we know attorneys that are good at different areas, and can make recommendations to say, hey, while we can't be the ones to help you with the specific scenario, we know attorneys A, B, and C, they all do this thing. And you can reach out to them and see if they can take your matter. But ultimately we don't know what the outcome will be because we can't take on the matter. So we can't get really any further information. We just have to say, unfortunately, it can't be us, but here's some referrals. If not, you can try there's a referral list at the state level that you can go find an attorney. But we have to gracefully bow out and say, no, thank you.
Yeah. So ultimately, you could, in theory, try and do it. You're probably just not going to do as good a job as.
And we're being hyper technical.
Yeah, hyper technically, you could do a family law case technically because you're a lawyer. You just have
very bad idea.
Yeah.
And that client should not hire me for that.
I think that's the big takeaway from this is having people understand that there are different types of attorneys for different types of practices. And even within, we've got friends that do personal injury. Well, a car accident case is different than a truck driver case, which is different than a DUI, which is different than, serious injury. So like all of those specialties and skill development in each individual practice area is important to take in consideration when you're.
There are some firms, I will say, that will do all of those things. So they're like your one-stop shop.
Well,
and that's not to say that we wouldn't have litigation in the future, but it's just we've chosen at this time
the
not
thing
to.
with those places is they have probably individual attorneys or departments that are focused in
Yes.
that area. It's not just like one guy that knows all.
Sometimes it is, but it's usually different departments.
Yeah, that's in a smaller town usually.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think the people that may have had this question of what does a real estate attorney actually do and what can you help, I think you kind of help them understand that it's not all.
Yeah. Yeah. It could be, but it's probably not.